Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for coming. I'm just going to start with some quick introductions on how we're going on the Development Department. Your legal presentation for the song today. I'm actually the incoming director of Paris program. So I'll be director in 22. And I want to introduce some of my colleagues who are going to help out with this presentation. Leslie King of the Sociology Department and Environmental Science and Policy. Martine Gantrell of the French Studies Department. Rob Dorrit, the Biology Department. We also have Lisa Johnson, who's the Associate Dean of International Study, and Angelo Pisano, who is our Study Abroad Coordinator. And so I actually directed Geneva. I haven't directed Paris. I think from what I know, Paris is a fantastic program in the city that cannot be. So I'm going to defer to my more experienced colleagues. I'm going to have to take in the presentation as well. And Leslie King is going to start by kind of doing an overview of the program.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to stand over here so that the Zoom recording will pick me up, because I think some students are going to want to see this recording later because they weren't able to attend. So are you all interested in going to Paris? All right, it's pretty awesome. I was the JYA director in Paris in 1920, which was a crazy year, as you all might happen to remember. 19 and 20, yeah, you understand. Don't confuse me, Rob. And even despite the fact that it was a very hard year, it was, I will say, I've been here for almost 20 years, and it was really, for me, the most inspiring year of my time at Smith, watching all the students just grow and flourish and learn French and learn about themselves in new types of ways. For me, it was incredibly fulfilling. And I think the students had an amazing time, even though our program was cut short. So I'm just going to run through the basics of the program. I have a few slides and then a really short 3-minute video. We also have 2 students. I hope they have managed to get onto the Zoom, and they're going to be zooming in, one from France and one from across the river in Amherst, to answer questions if you have them. And so we have time for Q&A after these slides. I'm going to do part of the slides, and Professor Dorrit will talk about options for science students, natural science students. So Paris is awesome. It's pretty interesting going to Paris with Smith College, because we are actually the oldest running junior year abroad program in Paris. And I just found some photos in the archives. That one over there is from 1927. That was one of the earliest groups of Smith students. They're in front of, here at the Grey Court Gate, but they were getting ready to go to Paris. And this is from the 1940s, Jackie Kennedy's year, and that's when they went over on a boat, before everybody could just fly back and forth. So it's the oldest running program, and it really, you can feel it when you're over there. So one thing that makes this program unique is that it's a year-long program. A lot of Smith Study Abroad programs are 1 semester. And we've talked about whether to keep this a year-long program, but it's just so wonderful for students to be able to stay all year. A whole bunch of things happen when you stay longer. In addition to learning the language way, way better, you really get to know the place and get to understand it in a whole new way. And so for me, I would always say go for a year if you possibly can. And this program allows you to really dig in, be in Paris, and stay the whole year. We have 3 different types of courses. We have in-house courses that Smith runs, Smith College instructors. They're in French, but they're in-house. We have some consortium courses that we do with other colleges who also have JYA programs. We have courses at our French university partners. So we have French universities that you can where you can take courses. So I'm going to tell you about where you're living and when you go to Paris, and then I'll talk about a little bit more about the courses. So most of our students live with host families, famille d'accueil. So you would live all over Paris with different families. And it's amazing because you get to really immerse yourself in the culture in a very profound way. Now, so this tells you a little bit about the families, but we also have two other options for those for whom living with a family just isn't a good option. You can stay in a little chambre de bonne, a small maid's room in the top floor of a building. It's actually stunningly beautiful. I visited that one, both of them. And then another little studio. So there's options if you don't want to stay with a family. And they feed you most of your meals, but you also get a lunch stipend, which is actually pretty good. I don't remember how much money it is per day right now, but it's actually probably more than most people need to eat lunch. So a lot of students save up some money from that. And you make your own breakfast, but the host families provide it. So that's a little bit about the living situations. And again, if you have questions at the end, we can answer lots of them. This is just a photo of a student who was there the year I was director with her host family. Some of these relationships that students develop with their host families are lifelong. They go on and people stay in touch. It doesn't always work that way, but a lot of times it does. And a lot of the families are really interested in, taking you to different places and hanging out with you. And so that's just an example. All right, what about studying in Paris? So everybody would design their own program depending on your major and your interests, obviously. You would work with Professor Gold and your academic advisor here before you go. Everybody has to take a language class, and we have 2 levels. And that's an in-house language course. And we have really cool classes that we offer at our headquarters in Reed Hall in Paris. Classes on theater where you get to go to see a bunch of plays all over Paris in different theaters around town. An amazing course on immigration history of France. So there's lots of really good courses that we offer. But we also encourage you to get out and take courses at the French schools. There's an orientation when you first get there. It's about a week long. It's pass-fail, and all of the different Smith College instructors introduce themselves and do a little mini lecture, and you get to kind of go around Paris and see some important sites and kind of think about those together with some of our instructors. For example, one of our instructors takes students to the Immigration Museum, the history of immigration in France, and another one takes students around to like the Synod and government places in Paris. So there's lots of outings as part of the orientation. And then your normal course load is the same as here, 4 courses. So we have a bunch of partner institutions, and I listed them here. And this is a lot of information, I know. So just remember, you can contact any of us. I'll give you our emails at the end. But most students go to either Sorbonne University or the University of Paris. And the Sorbonne has mostly humanities courses, and University of Paris has everything. It's kind of more like a University of Massachusetts. You can sort of take a lot of different things. But most of our science students would go to University of Paris, and social science students might go there as well. Some social science students might opt to go to Sciences Po, which is a university that's mostly focused on social sciences like economics and government, a little bit of sociology. And we also have a partnership with an architecture school. So students who wanted to study sort of landscape or architecture, planning, and they have some art classes as well, might go there. And finally, if you're doing studio art, we can arrange, and we did the year I was directing, we can arrange for you to take a studio art class just at a private atelier. So I had a student doing that when I was directing. But most students are at one of those 2 listed at the top, Sorbonne and University of Paris. And this is the Sorbonne. I decided to throw a few images. And this is Université de Paris. So they're very different. This one's much more modern, new, but they're both pretty awesome. This is inside Sciences Po. And this is architecture school. It's a pretty awesome building. And this is the classroom at Reed Hall. And this is the theater class I was telling you about, where students went to plays. So now it's your turn, Professor Dorrit. So we do have a special program in Paris for those of you who are doing science. And it's so amazing and unique because almost all the programs in Paris JWA don't have this type of thing. And this is an innovation of Professor Dorrit and another Smith professor. And so come up and please tell us all about it.
Thank you. So I did not direct the program in 1920 like my colleague. My name is Rob Dorrit. I'm a professor in the biology department, and I'll just run you quickly through this. This program came about because I got exasperated with the fact that students were being asked whether they wanted to be STEM majors or go to Paris for a year, which seemed to me an unnecessary decision to make. So we put together, with the help of the French department, the math department, the engineering department, this option for students who are in STEM to be able to keep moving along with their major and at the same time take advantage of what really is a life-changing year in Paris. So the idea behind the Sciences à Paris is really to start out by reminding you that we have, we're talking about a country that has a very deep and rich intellectual tradition in the sciences and engineering. This is obviously the country of Descartes and Pasteur. As it says here, there are, an enormous number of very active research institutions in Paris that you will be able to take advantage of. And it's also important to us that to expose students to the idea that the practice of science is actually environment and culture dependent. So as more and more science becomes sort of a group endeavor and more science becomes involves the collaboration among scientists from different parts of the world, it's a really great opportunity to see science being done in a different place and with a different underlying structure. And you'll get to experience that both in the classroom and in the laboratory. So SAP, the program is essentially integrated with the JYA program. So you're not going to be a part, but you will be doing some things that are specific to the STEM majors. One of the central ones is a seminar that goes on all year in-house. It's really an opportunity for all of the science and engineering students to be together and to develop both an understanding of how science culture works in France, but also an opportunity for you guys to, for example, prepare dossiers and go about finding internship opportunities and lab and research opportunities for usually the spring and sometimes the summer after you've been there for a year. So you will also have access to tutors in all of the science classes that you take at the university, whatever your particular field is. Chris Golay and I are happy to work with you before, during, and after your time in Paris to make sure that you've chosen courses that are appropriate, suitable for your major, available in France, and to make sure that this year sort of fits in and doesn't require you to put anything in suspended animation. The requirement, my very strong recommendation is to have 2 years of French. We have created a possibility for students who only have 1 year of French to go to the Sciences à Paris program, but there is no such thing as too much French before you go. So if you have the opportunity to do anything intensive, do it now. If you have the opportunity to take 2 years, start now. But we do have a way in which we can accommodate students that have only been there that have only taken 1 year of French. And it largely involves spending a good part of your first semester in France, doing some language training in addition to the SAP things. And otherwise, as I said, you're fully integrated. So this might be what a typical fall semester would look like, particularly for people who have had 2 years of French. You'll do the orientation with your colleagues. You will, as your colleagues do, be part of one of the French courses that we offer in-house. You will take the SAP seminar, which takes place, as I said, both fall and spring. You'll probably take 1 or 2 courses related to your major at the French universities or at one of the institutes. And then you might take, depending on your course load, 1 additional course either at Reed Hall or in the consortium. And in the spring, this is kind of the way it's going to look. So you will probably be starting on your internship, or at least many students in SAP start on your internship, which we treat a little bit as a special studies as you get started. You'll continue with the seminar. You'll be taking, again, probably 1 or 2 major related courses. We discourage you, frankly, from taking only science courses when you go to France. It makes no sense. You should take advantage of the fact that you're there. So we're trying to find the sweet spot between making sure that you could keep your major moving along, but you also take advantage of the kinds of courses and opportunities that are only available when you're in Paris. And I'm happy to answer any questions after we're done with this talk or at any time you want.
And we're almost done. I just want to say, thinking about what Professor Dort just said, there are tutors, not just for science students, but there are tutors for everybody. So if you are taking an economics class and you need an economics tutor, Smith in Paris will find you one. And that's one of the amazing bonuses of the program. And the other thing I wanted to say is that Sciences à Paris is not, you can sneak into the seminar that Smith runs for science students, even if you are not a science major. The year I was there were 2 students, one an econ major and one a gov major, who just wanted to take the seminar. So I contacted Rob and said, can I let them in? And he said, sure. And so they took the Sciences à Paris seminar and they did they each did internships. So this is something you can think about, even if you're not on a science track, if you're interested in learning more about science in Paris. All right. So just other reasons to go to Paris and go to France. You know, it's not wildly different from the United States, but it's different enough. You feel like a different person there. So you expand your horizons in a profound way. We only speak French at Reed Hall. This was a challenge for me. I was a French major in college, but that was so long ago and I didn't use it. And this pledge to speak French helped me and also all the students. We just made ourselves speak French all the time. And so it's a great way to just really dig in and get your French better and better. There's lots to see, as I'm sure you all can imagine. Here's a bunch of students hanging out in front of the Louvre. Also, Smith in Paris organizes trips. You know, we went to Versailles, we went to Bordeaux. So we go places, and you can certainly, you know, not go, but almost everyone goes, and it's really fun. It goes a group. Cafe culture is pretty awesome. More students from my year. And here are all of our contacts. Marie-Madeleine Charrier is the administrative director in Paris of the program, and others of us rotate through. So Howard is going to be directing next year. Rob obviously is runs the Sciences à Paris program, and he's here. He will take emails. I will. So email us, and I'm going to show you a very quick 3-minute video, and then I'll let Martine tell you a little bit about French requirements. Let me see if I can make this work. Okay, so a little bit of background about this 3-minute video. My year, everybody had to go home in March because of the pandemic, but 2 students came back in the fall because, as you all will recall, everything was on Zoom. So they snuck back over to Paris and did all their Smith College classes via Zoom. And so while they were there, we got together and made this little video to show you. So here it is. Yes. What do I do? It's all good?
Probably go down to Zoom.
What do I do?
Go to Zoom. Yeah, do it from the share screen. Now, go back to the video. Once you
Oh, I
share-
gotcha. Okay, I see your point.
No, that's top one.
This one?
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody, I'm challenged. What do I do now?
You're gonna want to stop your share. Your share can go off. And then if you go back to share your screen.
Click on the green.
Click on the green arrow.
Click on the what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
click on it.
And then you're gonna want to click.
Quickly on the player, one down.
Click on this, there you go. Click on it and share.
Thank you. All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. My name is Leslie King. I'm a sociology professor, and last year I was faculty director of Smith's JYA program, and I'm saying hi from a cafe in the heart of Paris, and I'm sitting here with 3 Smith in Paris alums.
Hi, I'm Simran. I'm a sociology major. I'm a senior.
Hi everyone, I'm Kalia. I'm from Connecticut and I'm a quantitative economics major. And I came to Paris from my JYA because it's the best program at Smith and
Hi, I'm Janan. I'm a class of 2019 grad and I did the junior year in Paris, my junior year, obviously. The JYA program here in Paris is the best for multiple reasons. One is obviously the cultural exchange. You get to live with a host family. It's incredible getting to learn the language directly from them, getting to use Smith's resources here in Paris to use the funds to go to concerts, cultural events, museums, travel, doing trips, champagne tastings, but also you get to learn directly from the Sorbonne or Diderot. The classes at the Smith in Paris Center are great as well. Paris is like you could live in the city for 20 years and there's always going to be something new to do. Like there's so many things to do in the city. Like just stay in Paris and like see as much as you possibly can because there's just so much to see and so many different things to do.
I completely agree with Simran. Like there's so many nooks and crannies of this like beautiful city, so many museums, so many restaurants to eat at, so many bars to explore, so much art to see. Like if I was you, I'd take like every single weekend, just try to walk around a part of an arrondissement and just like explore the city little by little, chunk by chunk, and it will feel like you've traveled all over the world.
Academics, go.
Boom. So of course, a part of studying abroad is studying. I know we want the study to be silent, but it's not. And in other places, it's more explained, but here at Smith in Paris, Smith really makes sure that the studies are balanced and they're great, interesting courses. Like our favorite course with Boniface Mwongo, he taught
a lot of classes on immigration and colonization in France, and you get to take these classes at Reed Hall, which is the Columbia Centers where they have all of the classes for Smith students, Columbia students, Vassar students, and the building is beautiful, and you get to take half of your classes there if you want, or all of them. It's a beautiful space in the 6th arrondissement.
And not only that, but Smith makes sure you're supported along the way. You get tutors for all your classes outside of Smith and inside of Smith. A lot of my friends that went to other programs were struggling with their studies. They didn't have time to travel to drink champagne because they were studying. But Smith made sure that I was helped. I had tutors helping me with the material, with my language skills, and that my courses weren't taken away from my experience. And that's why you should come here to the Smith Study Abroad program.
There you go. So, stop my share. Let me just get back to Zoom. Stop share. Okay, am I good? So we have now, we're going to hear from Martin Gautrel, and we've also got 2 students, former JYA students on Zoom, zooming in to answer questions that you might have, or just to tell you about their experience. So we'll do those 2 things now.
Well, what I can tell you is very easy. If you want to go to Paris, we expect you to
be at the 250 level in French if you're on the general track. If you are in the science program, as Rob Dorrit told you earlier, it's wonderful if you can be at the 250 plus level like the other people on the other track. If you cannot, if you have only the equivalent of 1 year of French, it's enough to be eligible to be accepted in the science in Paris program. So basically, that's all I have to say. But I just want to add something to the presentation is that when you're in Paris, the program has money, and the money has been donated either by former directors who love the program or former participants who are now, adults, rich, and they, so what it does is that it gives every student in the program a certain amount of money that you can use to your own discretion to do something cultural. So it could be, I've seen a lot of variety of things. I mean, you could go to a museum, you could go on a boat on the Seine, it's cultural. You can go to a restaurant, it's cultural. You decide what cultural activities you may want to do. And usually you have enough money to do at least one, maybe twice a month. Okay, so that's pretty helpful. We also have prizes, and those are two prizes, one for French majors only, but the other one's for anybody who's in the program. And they usually bring, a few $100 to the winners. They're usually more than one winner, 2 or 3. And again, that's money that the program will already have. Finally, there is the Bloomberg Fellowship. That's also extremely precious when you're in France. You apply for that fellowship usually around March or April. And what it does, what you do is you say, I want to stay in France or in Europe, and I have a project, a research project that I want to work on. And the Bloomberg Fellowship will give you money to travel. And the students that I know that have done it have been to Italy, to Germany, to compare, often to say, okay, what is a cafe in Paris? How is it similar or how is it different to a cafe in Berlin or to a cafe in Rome? I mean, that's a pretty cool topic of research. And that works. So something to keep, to think about. Obviously, when you make your proposition, you have to give some references and you have to make it look like it's serious a research project. But you have a lot of freedom as to what you want to be investigating. One student of mine, I remember, was comparing the way immigrants were being received in Paris as opposed to other big cities in other European countries. So it could be a light topic like coffee shops, but it could be also something much more heavy and long range, I guess, immigration policies. So that's all I have to do. And I think now we're ready to hear what the students have to say.
Why don't we get the students just give their quick impressions and then we'll take questions.
Hey, Sarah.
Would you like me to go first? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I graduated from Smith last May. Now I work at the Yiddish Book Center in Amherst, so I'm still around. And I did the Paris program with Leslie as my academic director. So it was cut short, sadly, but I had really an amazing experience and I highly recommend it. I think that the studying abroad in Paris is a wonderful opportunity with many pros and of course also some challenges, but doing the Smith program, they really help you get access to those pros financially, logistically, and they help minimize the cons. And I would love to go back to Paris someday and study, but just thinking about, the money aspect and the visa and all these things, I wish I could do it again with Smith because they really help you out and it's really an amazing opportunity.
What about Rachel?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, hi, I'm Rachel. I did the program like with Sarah and Leslie, of course. And I mean, I agree with everything Sarah said. I'm here in France again doing like a teaching program. I just graduated and especially like the financial aspect, I definitely agree because like when you do it with Smith, they fund so many things. They give you like a Metro card. You never have to worry about transport. And that's always really nice. I did like the science offset program. At the time I applied, like my sophomore year, I was doing a neuroscience major. After my year in Paris, then it was so easy to complete the French major. Then I switched it and then I graduated with a French major and a neuroscience minor. But I was really thankful to be able to like get science or take science classes in France, and the program really helped do that. So if anyone has questions about that, they can definitely ask. But yeah, it was a really like, even though we had to go home early, it was a fulfilling like a couple months, and I would definitely do it again and recommend it to anyone who's like really wanting to improve their French.
Yeah, so I think we can, if you have questions, this would be a great time to ask. We still
You could
have a few
ask
minutes.
them, you could ask us,
Right.
any questions.
Sure.
The last student was talking about transportation. Can you talk more about that?
You want to talk about transportation, y'all?
Sure. So first of all, it depends on where you are housed. So I was very lucky and I had a very central location. So I did walk a lot of places, and Paris is a very walkable city and it does not get too cold in the winter. So that is a wonderful option. And that is also just to say the Smith hosts are really just better than other hosts for other programs because Marie Madeleine is really just like the best director of any study abroad program, and Smith just like has these resources financially and otherwise to access better host families than other students studying abroad on other programs will get. That's an aside. But anyway, they'll house you in a neighborhood. You'll get to explore your own neighborhood. And then you might be able to walk to places. I mean, you will be able to walk to some places, but if you're more central, more places. And then the metro is really amazing in Paris, and they give you an unlimited card, and you can really take that many places. It's great. The card also works for buses, and also I think for the bikes. I was kind of too scared to try to use those bikes, but they are very cool, and it's the same card. Yeah. So the unlimited transportation card is great. And the metro will get you anywhere basically. And then of course, if you would like to travel, Paris is very centrally located within Europe. And that's certainly something a lot of people did as well. And you can take the trains as well to other cities in France and do kind of like short trips, which the program sponsors a couple of those. And then if you plan it on your own, you can also go and check out other cities in Paris.
What does the JYA program look like for pre-health students?
Pre-health. It's a great place to do pre-health for two reasons. Partly because you can take courses that are sort of part of the pre-med thing. But I think the other part that's less obvious is that you will have the opportunity both to see a healthcare system that is organized along completely different lines from what we have in this country. And you also have the opportunity to do research, right? To either be part of a lab or part of the public health kind of infrastructure in Paris, if you are willing to do the footwork and create that opportunity for yourself. So I think it's just exposure to a very different way of doing things if you're interested in medicine and healthcare. And we've had a lot of pre-health students. So, again, the idea is not to take 8 pre-med requirements when you're in Paris. But I think most of the students take somewhere between 2 and 3 that are either pre-med requirements or bio major requirements. And then the rest they fill out with other opportunities.
Oh, I have something to add about pre-health. I'm also pre-health, which I forgot to mention, but yeah, I think it's kind of difficult to count classes for prerequisites for applying to medical school, but I think it like really is a unique experience that like will help you in the end. And the pre-health director, Ellie Mons, she actually did like a year abroad in Paris too, so she's very supportive. And yeah, just so you know.
That was my question. How does it work in terms of universities accepting them?
So I can answer that one explicitly because it's come up. There is a incorrect rumor that American medical schools will not accept courses taken abroad. That's not true. It's not true for 2 reasons. It's not true because what they're really worried about is courses that are taken at non-accredited institutions. Right. So if you're taking an online course from the University of We've Never Heard of You.com, medical schools are nervous. If you take a course at the university in Paris, that's not what they're worried about. And the other reason the courses are accepted is because they show up on your transcript as Smith courses. So your transcript actually has your junior year abroad listed as a set of, JYA biology or JYA chemistry courses. So it's not like you're stapling a transcript in French to your application. And so I've spoken with quite a few medical schools over the years about this. This is not something they're concerned with.
What does it look like to pursue English studies?
Like an English major?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like if you're majoring in English, what does that look like?
You would take your classes at the Sorbonne and study English literature with the French students studying English literature. Somebody in my group was doing that. And she took I think actually 2 people were doing it. And one of them took some literature courses in English, which we don't love, but the other did like film studies that was going to count towards her English major somehow here. I'm not sure how that worked exactly, but it was in French. So we basically communicate with your advisors here on campus to make sure that something's going to be okay. But there were quite a few options for them. I could actually put you in touch with those 2 students if you needed more, but yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that the French have had a slight influence on literary criticism.
Yeah.
So you guys were saying like how like social science, not social science, like humanitarian studies students could like take stuff at the math and like STEM department. And STEM students also have the opportunity to like study at the Sorbonne or anything, or
No. That's one thing you can't really do unless you decide I'm not going to do any science this year, because you have to choose which institution to attend, either the Sorbonne or the University of Paris. Can't do both at the same time. You've got to enroll in one or the 2. You can enroll in like the Sorbonne and Sciences Po, like you could take a couple of econ classes and also take classes at Sorbonne. But it's if you really sort of have to, that is one sort of limitation. You have to choose between one of those 2 schools. But we have courses in-house. You want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say that because I was talking to the director a couple of weeks ago, it seems that this is no longer true.
Really?
Because La Sorbonne University now even offers an engineering program. And
because they
science.
merged.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there was a reorganization.
There was a major reorganization of all the universities. So it looks like you can do basically the same thing, more or less, whether you are at the Sorbonne University or whether you are at the University of Paris.
Okay, thank you for that.
This is very recent. I don't know how the program will be able to, get this into running mode next year, but certainly this is something that has a good chance of happening.
So that is coming. What I can tell you is the flip side of that is that Paris 7, now called Université de Paris. They do this periodically, but they are a lot like an American university. So there are actually courses in the humanities that are available to you if you are a student at the Université de Paris. And the real reason why, at least until recently, you couldn't do both is because you have to get a student ID for the year at one of the institutions. And France and Paris are a very student-oriented, it's a very student-oriented country. So that student ID gives you access to a whole lot of benefits. Travel discounts, free entrances. I mean, it's an amazingly useful card, but you have to be associated with a specific university.
Like, if there is any sort of program that, is there a possibility that like the computer science students can also take lessons civil? If that program.
I would say, I think the guarded answer is, I think eventually that will be possible. I don't know how, the French are known for many things, but quick bureaucracy is not one of them. So I think eventually it will be possible, but they're still trying to understand. Forget about Smith. The French universities are still trying to understand what the consequences of all this fusioning is. So we're waiting for them to clear that up and for us to understand our relationship. But I think you'll have no shortage of courses to choose from, regardless of your field.
Where is sociology majors and those that will take most of their classes, like which institution?
Okay, so we had one sociology major here, I was there, who took her classes at the University of Paris. And we actually just hired a new instructor at Smith in Paris, so with an in-house class, who's a sociologist. So that was because we had one student who's majored in sociology and another student who wanted to take sociology. And we hired this person as tutor for those two students. And then we hired her to actually teach in our program to teach sort of sociology of Paris. So that's where you would take your classes at the University of Paris.
Well, abroad, do students mostly spend time with other American students or French people they
We can ask them too.
So I'll preface this by saying that you're going to spend a good part of your year in Paris feeling sorry for students in any other American program. Partly because after one semester, a lot of them are headed home, and you're just going to feel really sorry for them about that. And partly because a lot of American programs in Paris are essentially bubble programs, where you hang out with the students in that program and you try to minimize contact with anybody else. I would say that one of the reasons why JYA in Paris is what it is because we try really very hard to keep you out of the bubble as quickly as possible. So, of course, you'll make friends in the program and they'll be important to your time there, but I think we encourage formally and informally for you to reach out to, through your host family, through your classes, through the tutors, through sports teams and organizations that students join very soon after they arrive. We want you to be in the kind of flow of life in Paris, not trying to recreate Smith with the Eiffel Tower in the back.
Hey, Sarah and Rachel, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah. Can you just repeat the question just one more time?
You spend most of your time with American students, or do you have opportunities to meet students who are not on study abroad programs?
Since you go to the Paris universities, they do have at least where I was, which was University of Paris, they had a day for all the international students. So it's interesting because I feel everyone, international students are more like ready to meet new people. A lot of times French people are like, they already have their group of friends. It's kind of hard to like infiltrate, which I did find true. So personally, like either I was meeting like international students or just getting to know a lot of people from the Smith program who I didn't even know at all, even though we like had gone to school for 2 years together. So that was my personal case. I do know that there were other students who like did make like relationships with or like friendships with French students through their classes. So it is possible also.
Yeah, I will say that French people are very interesting and they're very hard to become friends with because they don't really believe in casual friendships. And they have their friends from childhood and they don't often move. But I think it is worth it because once you are friends, they make wonderful friends. Not to stereotype an entire nation, but so it's really hard. But this Smith program is kind of sets you up for success as much as possible because you are there for a year and because your French is being like, it improves your French so much. And like, if that's a goal of yours to make French friends, that was my goal. And I worked really hard at it. I would go to different events and I would just start talking to people, and it's not easy, but I made it happen because, that was like a goal of mine. But like Rochelle said, like if you can meet really interesting international students from other countries, you can become friends with the other Smithies. And so it is possible to make friends with French people, but it takes a lot of work. But the Smith program, kind of sets you up for success.
And if I may just add something, one way, if you are good at one sport, okay, enroll in a team at the university in that sport. That's the best, easiest way to get to meet people. Because as American citizens, you're known in France for being extremely good at sports. So everybody wants you on there. And that's a great way of making friends.
This is the kind of tips you only get at the JYA program.
I was wondering how many students usually go each year.
About 20.
Is there a certain test or like level you have to be at to get into the program?
Level of French?
No, like not level of French. Like, do you have to pass certain tests, or is there like a certain number of people that you go to the program? Like, can you have to be accepted to get out?
I mean, the program, I would love it if the program were twice as large. And I think the program can handle being larger than it is. It is an application program, so, the applications get reviewed and look at your record and look at, your French competency and look at the reasons why you want to go to Paris. But in my sense is we want as many people as will be able to take advantage of this opportunity to take advantage of it. So I'm going to disagree slightly with something my colleague said at the very beginning. To me, this program feels like a completely different experience from being on this campus. And one of them, so aside from the obvious that you're in Paris and you're not in Northampton, the level of agency and independence that you have is a whole different story.
That is so true.
And I see the students when I'm directed, and I'm sure this is all of our experiences, students step into that. They step into the fact that they're given more autonomy, more independence, more responsibility. And so you come back, and it's weird because the other seniors, for example, didn't get to do this for a year. Will suddenly seem young to me. Something happens in that year.
I want to, I know we're running out of time. I want to put a plug in for the application deadlines and processes. So if you're a sophomore and you're thinking about participating on this program during 2022-2023, your application deadline is February 7th, 2022. So February of next year. And if you're meeting with your advisors now to select your spring semester courses, you should definitely be bringing the conversation about studying abroad, Paris or wherever, into your conversations with your academic advisors now. Primarily because part of the application process, as Rob alluded to, you have to submit a plan of study, which you map out your 8 semesters at Smith, and you demonstrate that you have a plan to complete a major. Most people have more than just one major or minors or things like that. You have to demonstrate that you have a plan to complete your outside the major requirements and fit study abroad into that. So that's part of the application process. You're going to be asked to write a statement that asks you to answer some prompts. Why do you want to study abroad? Why Paris? Et cetera, et cetera. That statement needs to be written in French. So getting a head start on that is a good idea. You need to also request 1 language recommendation and 1 academic recommendation. And they should not be from the same person, obviously. So again, taking this time now in November during advising period to start asking for people to write the recommendations for you, and so on and so forth. So February 7th, if you're thinking about studying abroad next year, if you're a first-year student, take all of this in and come to this session this time next year, because it will apply more to your plans at that time. Yeah.
So we don't stop it. Please feel free to contact any of us. And thank you, Rachel and Sarah, so much for zooming in. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, and Leslie, if you want to like give my email to anyone, or if anyone wants to ask questions, feel free. Okay, bye.
And what, Rachel?
She said feel free to distribute her email.
Oh, okay, thank you. Appreciate it.